Yeah, when you're ready.
If I was looking back at where I was at 12 to 16 years old, I'd probably laugh. Yeah, I'm not sure I'd even still believe that I could achieve what I did achieve. My dream as a kid, I remember sitting in school thinking I need to get to one Winter Olympics. Obviously now I've had a few more, but keeping trying to get better. Day by day you get more used to it, and day by day you feel more comfortable in the environment. But yeah, a lot of pride, a lot of sense of achievement. My upbringing, I would say, was just like any normal lad in Lancashire, and just having good fun with my friends. I wasn't thinking long term in skiing, certainly when I was growing up. I was just enjoying myself. Sport was just a big thing in our family. I loved playing football, and then any sport I could get my hands on at school, but I often wonder why I went down the skiing route and not the football route. But yeah, I'm not sure I would have been as good as I am at football as I am at skiing. We had a really cool camaraderie group at Pendle Ski Club where I grew up skiing, and I think just the love of skiing and racing with my friends meant a lot, and I just kept following that path. But yeah, just the love of being on skis, having fun and being competitive, being able to race. I had a fantastic instructor called Jeanette, and she made it so much fun just sidestepping up a slope and going straight down it. I always tried to give a lot of credit to her for installing a love for skiing from that very first lesson. I was always doing well on the dry slope, but actually racing on snow I wasn't very good, and even in my late teens I was certainly nowhere near the best in Britain. But I think it was just an inner belief that I could do it, and yeah, and a love for the sport. And I just persisted, and every day I was training, trying to get better. And if you give yourself the time and be consistent with something, then that's how you improve. My dad, he was also my coach on the dry slope, so yeah, a lot of family time and going to races around the country with the whole family. My sister was racing, and I still remember a race on the dry slope, and it was maybe the turning point of my improvement was when she nearly beat me. So I actually think that was a time where I started to get an upwards trajectory on the dry slopes. Family's everything to me. I love being home and spending time with the family unit, and yeah, it was nice to have them as such a big part of my racing career. When I finished college, my parents made me finish my A-levels. They said you can go skiing for 1 year and give it a go living in Austria. So I did that, and then I got selected onto the British team. And from there, it was kind of a consistent progression. I think the dry slopes actually became an advantage to me later on, more when I became competitive on the snow racing. For instance, on the dry slope I was the best for a few years before I went onto the snow full time. And I remember when I was leading my first race in 2017, leaving the finish area, it gave me a flashback to the first big race I was leading on dry slope. And I had the same feeling, so it was nice to be able to reflect back to that. But then also obviously how you approach a race, how you deal with pressure, how you inspect a course. I'd done it so often on the dry slopes that as soon as I was good enough to compete on the World Cup, I could maximise my potential. Yeah, so in the build-up to 2010, I wouldn't say I was one of the sort of leading candidates to go until the year before. It was obviously my dream as a kid. I remember sitting in school thinking, I need to get to one Winter Olympics. Obviously now I've had a few more, but yeah, it was just keeping trying to get better, and eventually I got the call that I'd made the selection, and it was time to head out to Canada in Vancouver. Day by day you get more used to it, and day by day you feel more comfortable in the environment, but I certainly wouldn't say I was there overly comfortable. I was more a bit out my depth, should we say. I remember it was raining pretty heavily, so you would think home from home. This is back when I actually did giant slalom, and there was a time where I was actually better at giant slalom than I was at slalom, but no, I loved racing the GS. I still wish I kind of could do GS, but just wasn't good enough in the end, and I skied really well. Big mistake at the top, but yeah, the rest of it was actually really good skiing, and enjoyed the day. I was pretty proud of how I approached it. First Winter Olympics. I'm certainly glad I improved after the Olympics, otherwise I'm not totally sure how long my career would be, but yeah, I gave it a pretty good shot with what I had back in the day. A young skinny northerner, I guess that was the body frame I was dealing with then, but no, it was a cool day. My family came out, and I didn't expect to go on to do what I've done, so I definitely took what I could from the day, and I gave it my all for sure. And it was a proud day representing Great Britain. So when Tristan came in as my coach at 23, he's the same age as me, so a lot of people were questioning whether that was the right step at the stage of my career. A British coach my age who hadn't necessarily done it before, but in Tristan I saw a work ethic that I'd never seen before, and I saw a mindset where he would do anything to make me a better skier, and knowing that someone was going to be by my side, pushing me as hard as he could and doing everything he could to make me better, I jumped at that opportunity. We definitely didn't do everything right in the first years, but what we did do was fully commit. We started increasing the volume of training on snow and really honed in on the areas that needed to be improved. That was definitely the start. There were certainly ups and downs, but each year I could see progression in areas, and each year I could see that I was making gains physically and technically. Before Sochi, I really became very competitive on the Europa Cup Tour. I won the Europa Cup Tour, which is the level below the World Cup, and I was definitely a fast skier. I hadn't necessarily mastered the technique for the World Cup yet, but when the conditions were suitable for me, I was certainly getting a name for being a very good skier. It was warm again. I think that was the similarity between the first two Olympics. It was really warm, soft snow conditions, which made it really tricky. But obviously now I was a much better skier, and certainly in the second run I was starting 5th, I think. That was the main goal of the day, was to get into the top 30, because then the top 30 is reversed, and then you really feel like you're in amongst it and you're in the race. Very early on I got it slightly wrong, and yeah, almost stopped. After that I think I was top 5 in the next 3 sections, so it was a day of maybe what could have been. Certainly a better result was on the cards, but I still moved up to 17th, and definitely showed what I was capable of if I got 2 runs together on my day. The main thing after Sochi was to try and master the technique. I was semi-breaking down on the hard, demanding slopes of the World Cup, so we decided to do a lot of skiing indoors. I got a lot of funny looks, a lot of questions asked at what I was doing skiing indoors, but I think what the other fellow competitors and other coaches didn't see was I grew up on a dry slope, so rotating on a 20-second indoor slope was like luxury for me. It really enabled me to control an environment, because in the summer when you're training on snow, you're training on the glaciers, and One day it's sunny, the next day it's raining, and you can't really have a consistent crack at improving an area of your technique. Whereas indoors, I knew what the conditions would be like. I knew it would be -2. I knew there'd be no wind, and it would be not sunny, but you'd be able to see. So I really was able to, day after day, just work on technical aspects in my skiing. Now I'd had a World Cup podium, so expectation was pretty high, and yeah, obviously for the right reasons. I went with a game plan first run. It was bitterly cold, and the wind, it was a weird wind. It went through anything you put on, that wind would go through it. It's not necessarily in the hunt or in a medal position after the first run, because I always find I ski a little bit better when I'm chasing. On my day I was the best, or one of the best in the world, but this mistake on the first run cost me big time, and with the piece being quite easy, I was ahead at that point. I was leading at that point, but I lost a second through that section, and honestly I kind of knew that there was no coming back. But yeah, it was a good day. Ended up in 9th here and a top 10 at the Olympics. Yeah, I'll be able to take that to my grave whenever that might be. All the experiences going to each race as a top candidate was new to me, and it definitely takes a little bit for that to sink in. I'd shown to myself that I was capable of being the fastest over one run. It's different being the fastest over 2 runs. To be honest, it was like banging my head against a brick wall. I thought that my time had passed. I never stopped trying. Beijing was strange, just from getting on the plane to landing in an airport that was actually closed. It was like living in a bubble. Our event was at the end of the games. We were obviously there from the start. I was the flag bearer, which was an amazing experience. I lost nearly a second in one section, and I kind of knew there and then that that wasn't going to be my day. I had a pretty good second run, but I just couldn't make it back. Ended in 13th. Yeah, definitely a sense of disappointment on this one. Each time you go to the Olympics, you get a different culture, and because I was Canada, Russia, South Korea and then China, it was really different in all 4 of them. So yeah, to experience all 4 was cool.
Thanks. Cheers.
You're in the village with thousands of other athletes from all the other sports, and it's the only time where, as Team GB, we come together and I catch up with the skeleton guys, like in person, the bobsleigh guys or the ice skaters, the curlers, and that's really cool. I think maybe when I finish skiing and I take in everything that I've achieved and actually respect what I've done, because now I'm just still trying to improve and still trying to get better, that kind of what I've done I've not fully appreciated it, I wouldn't say. But yeah, I've shown that you can start on the dry slopes in the UK and you can win a World Cup on the World Cup tour. So I've shown that the next generation that it's possible. If I was looking back at where I was at 12 to 16 years old, I'd probably laugh. I don't know what I'd tell him, to be honest. Yeah, I'm not sure I'd even still believe that I could achieve what I did achieve. I just tell him to fully commit and pretty much what I did. Just go out there, fully commit and immerse yourself in being an athlete every single day of life.